In 2020, David Dobrik made $15.5 million on YouTube. Mr. Beast made $24 million. And in 2021, Logan Paul made $5 million in a single day releasing a set of NFT art. What's going on? And is it possible for all of us to make a living this way? If you're born during or after the millennial generation, it's highly unlikely that you're going to have any kind of stable career. The dominant philosophy of 20th century society demanded an exchange of time for money. For many of us, this time-money exchange is still the unquestioned default state of existence. But it's time to wake up. The cliches and metaphors that we're familiar with when it comes to work, like the company man and woman, the 9-to-5 in-office work, the bleak commute, they're all beginning to fall apart. And we've seen it. But maybe we just weren't paying enough attention to recognize the pattern. And it has a name: the passion economy. It's not just as simple as following your bliss.
Namely, that if you do follow your bliss, you put yourself on a kind of track that has been there all the while waiting for you.
We've all got passions, but to come out of this paradigm shift on top, we've got to understand how people's ability to make money has evolved over time. Those left behind, those who didn't recognize the patterns early enough, were left stranded in worlds of seemingly infinite possibilities, but without the means to actually profit from them. For most of contemporary human history, the majority of people made a living as subsistence farmers, with a small group of gentry consuming the surplus. The 20th century emerges, along with industrialization. While it fails to create the utopia some predicted, the majority of people now find themselves in the lower middle class, while racism continues and inequality worsens. As one of the few who spotted the pattern early, Henry Ford emerges victorious. The revolution of the accumulation of wealth continues as the 1970s gives way to an era of knowledge work. The explosive growth of the tech industry brings with it the era of infinite leverage. The internet economy is born. As one of the few who saw it coming, Bill Gates emerges victorious. With a booming tech industry now in place, the 2000s give birth to companies like Facebook. Leveraging network effects and the monetization of users' time on the platforms, this is the start of the attention economy. Among others, Mark Zuckerberg emerges victorious.
How do you sustain a business model in which users don't pay for your service?
Senator, we run ads.
Another shift happens in 2010 with the advent of the gig economy. Hot Silicon Valley startups focus on creating an Uber for X. In other words, a highly commoditized service performed by fungible freelancers who function like the assembly line workers in Henry Ford's factories. Consistency and efficiency are prized above all else, leaving no room for individuality. And here we are today. The internet has flattened the world, and entrepreneurs can now connect with specific customers with hyper-specialized needs across vast geographic areas. Individuality is now a feature, not a bug. Replication at mass efficiency is no longer a profitable strategy, especially in the Western world. Instead, the wealthy are using their natural strengths and curiosities in order to niche down and amass unprecedented wealth from their passions. Of those seeing the patterns early, who will emerge victorious? The 10 most successful creators on Teachable alone have collectively earned over $100 million since the platform's birth. Not only that, but 500 teachers made over $100K in 2019. We're seeing a similar trend in China. Weibo allows users to sell content through live streams and exclusive group chats, which has created a new middle class of influencers, financial advisors, professors, journalists, far beyond the typical beauty influencers we're familiar with in the West. There's even an app connecting rural farmers with urbanites to promote purchasing produce directly from the source. To come out on top, it's paramount that we understand the drivers behind this lucrative opportunity. Digital globalized marketplaces connect clients with vendors that are able to service their hyper-specialized needs.
All right, so we got our Wolverine meat shredding claws.
Kevin Kelly's 1,000 True Fans, the seminal text for passion economy workers, was the first to articulate this pattern. Fundamentally, Kevin Kelly sets out a strategy for monetizing 1,000 true fans of your product or service to the tune of $100 a year, resulting in a $100K annual salary. Investors and strategists have continued to iterate on this idea. We'll look at it more in part 4.
You play it safe.
I play it the company way. Wherever the company puts me, there I'll stay.
The concept of the company man, popularized by William White in 1956, captured the essence of the work philosophy that has been handed down to us by previous generations.
PowerPoint.
A study back in 2017 by consulting giant McKinsey found that over a third of Americans were operating outside of traditional employer-employee relationships. Attributing this trend to the innate human desire for self-determination, VC investor Lee Jin, who specializes in funding the passion economy, claims this trend spans the gamut from individuals who convert their passions into professions. Think of YouTubers, podcasters, and gaming live streamers who've monetized digitally native hobbies, as well as those whom we don't traditionally think of as creators. Finally, the number of monetization models and tools that are available to passion workers are skyrocketing. People are making money not just using traditional advertisements. New models have emerged, including memberships, one-off sales, sponsorships, affiliate marketing, the creation of e-commerce brands, launching non-fungible tokens, the list goes on. Meanwhile, the outbreak of COVID was like pouring rocket fuel on the passion economy's already white-hot growth. At Patreon, estimated creator earnings is up around 50% in 6 months. At Etsy, total sales were up 93% from this time last year, if you don't include masks. If you include the masks, it's 147%. E-commerce as a whole has experienced skyrocketing growth, and Twitch has doubled the number of streamers on its platform during the pandemic. How can you capitalize on this exponential growth? Those who recognize the pattern early are likely to know best. If you paid attention, you'll have noticed that Kevin Kelly already gave us the blueprint. It just sounds a little bit too simple. The trick is to practically find those fans, or more accurately, to have them find you. So let's go deeper. Lee Jin takes this a step further by offering a model based on only 100 true fans. All of this talk of monetizing people can be murky and threatens to rub most of us the wrong way. But bear with us. There's actually a growing demand to pay premium price points for elevated, personalized services online if they can provide tangible and specific results. For years, this has been true in the physical world, with people willing to spend an enormous amount on Equinox gym memberships or outrageously high therapy fees for their mental health. This represents a move away from the traditional donation model, in which users pay to benefit the creator, to a value model, in which users are willing to pay more for something that benefits themselves. What was traditionally dubbed self-help now exists under the umbrella of wellness. People are willing to pay more for exclusive, ROI positive services that are constructive in their lives, whether it's related to health, finances, education, or work. In the offline world, people are accustomed to hiring experts across verticals and are willing to pay premium prices for the promise of measurable improvement and results. Now, that mindset is filtering into our digital lives. As the model moves online, it's no longer just about finding true fans that are willing to advertise your products for you. It's about finding super fans that are willing to pay premium prices to you directly for the value that you create. Rather than viewing one's fans as a uniform group, the 100 True Fans model calls on creators to distinguish between various sub-segments based on affinity and willingness to pay. The relationship that super fans have with creators is different from their regular fans. They become disciples, proteges, co-learners, and co-creators. As such, they require a whole new set of tools and platforms. But the same problem persists. We look at those pioneering this new economic movement, wondering if we can really do the same. The key is to reframe our mindsets and realize that in this era, leveraging one's passions to make an income is more attainable than ever. You don't need to have millions of followers or mass popularity to make a living in the passion economy. These traditional monetization models of the attention economy have been updated. B.J. Fogg, a behavioral scientist at Stanford, describes behavior change as motivation plus ability plus trigger. The important part of this equation is our perceived ability. To convince ourselves to change our behavior and thus our lifestyles, we need to believe we have a moderate chance of succeeding. And for the first time, it's actually likely that we do. While the Kardashians and the icons of the traditional attention economy built their brand based on superiority and unattainability, those in the passion economy are characterized by authenticity and relatability. However, a few hurdles remain. The first, discoverability. Finding true fans is hard. Providing enough value that they pay you premium prices on a continuous basis while being targeted by thousands, if not millions of creators like you is even harder. The second hurdle, mass fragmentation. As we've seen from rampant political polarization, the internet threatens to break down our shared humanity as society begins to unbundle itself into ever smaller and smaller specialized communities. Sam Lessin from The Information puts it this way: is this ever more fragmented world of cultures banned? That's up for debate, but it does mean that a group of people in a neighborhood or city or state who used to broadly share interests or at least a basic social vocabulary are fractured into smaller and smaller tribes that have less and less in common. Niching down enough to find your audience while maintaining our shared humanity and social norms is one of the biggest threats to the longevity of the passion economy. But of course, the biggest issue for you might be how to find your passion in the first place. More on this soon.